Hello team, and welcome to today's tutorial. So, we skipped ahead there. Oh, why is it not letting me go back, really? There we go. Yeah, don't have any spoilers there. But yeah, today's tutorial is all about steps to success. So if you're a menopausal woman and you are wanting to have as many tools in your arsenal as possible to get results, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to create a calorie deficit, then having more, high activity levels, getting a higher step count, things like that are going to be so important for helping you lose weight. So that is what today's chat is all about. You might hear a lot of this, on social media and fitness people bang on about getting your steps in and things like that. And this is pretty much chatting all about that. It's going in a bit more depth about the whys. Why do we want you to have a high step count or a higher step count? Why do we want you to be more active? Other than the obvious reasons of, general health and well-being. We want to make sure that you're getting up regularly, you're not totally sedentary, especially if you have recently retired, or if you maybe don't work as many hours as you used to, or maybe you're just totally desk bound at your job and you don't really have time where you're getting away from your desk. We want to make sure that you are being as active as you can be and trying to be as healthy as you can be. And it's good for your mental health as well, obviously, to take regular breaks when you're working or just whatever it is that you may be doing. It's good to get outside, it's good to do other things and just keep yourself moving. So that's pretty much what today's chat is all about. So first of all, we're going to talk about why you have a step goal, okay? So why you have a step goal could vary. Like I said, if you're trying to lose weight, then you want to be able to create a calorie deficit, and you can do that by having a step goal. It is a really simple unit of measurement of how active you are. Okay, so if you might be using a tracker like an activity watch or something like that. You might be using your smartphone if you've always kind of got it in your pocket. Then it can be a handy way just to track your steps and see how active you are on a daily basis. And it also gives you a good idea, if you're not very active, how you can improve on that and what you can do to be more active. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about how many times you go to the gym. I'm talking about how just much you're moving on a daily basis. If you're stuck to your desk all day, then that's one thing. If you are, just sitting quite a lot of the time, if you're just maybe sitting watching TV quite a lot in the evenings particularly, a lot of us do that, and that's very common, and that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not very active during the day and then you're going home and then sitting for the rest of the evening, it's not really ideal. So you'll have a step goal because it is such an easy and, like I said, it's a cheap and accessible way for most people to exercise. Now, same for most people, obviously, if you have disabilities or limited movement or limited mobility, things like that, then it might not be as accessible for yourself. It might not be a very valid measurement for you to take, and that's absolutely fine. There are other ways around that, which is cool. But for the majority of people, just how much you're walking about on a daily basis is a really simple and straightforward way to assess your activity levels. And using, like I said, you don't need to have a fancy smartwatch or anything like that. You can even just get a little cheap pedometer that you can wear on your wrist, or you can stick on your trouser belt or something like that, and that'll keep track of how many steps you're doing a day. So roughly they say, like, you'll hear this number 10,000. You'll see people get your 10,000 steps a day and stuff like that. So we'll come to that in a bit when we talk about how many steps you should be doing. But at the end of the day, it's going to be very specific to you why you have a step goal and getting the steps in. So like I said, it's a very common thing you hear about the fitness industry. And particularly in the past 2 years, it's just become more and more popular. And I think people are starting to realise just how important it is and how useful it can be to be more active on a daily basis and to be getting those steps in. So like I said, if you have a weight loss goal, then the odds are you will also have a step goal. So if you're trying to lose weight, then we want you to be more active. We want you to be creating a calorie deficit. And to create a calorie deficit, you want to be consuming less calories through your diet, and also improving your NEAT, which we'll talk about in a minute. If you don't have a clue what that is, don't worry about it. But we want to improve your NEAT through exercise, and then both of these things combined can create a desired deficit. Now, you don't need to do both of these things, but 2 is always better than 1, and the 2 of them working together is not just a great way to create a calorie deficit, but also to make sure that you are healthy, and both physically and mentally, and not just in a weight loss sense, but just that your body is being taken care of overall. So like I said, you don't need to do both of these things, but you can just focus purely on calories, or we try not to say focus purely on exercise, because it's more likely that your diet is going to be your downfall. That's why you're not losing weight, because we don't want to push being so active, because you're going to have a point that you cannot exercise anymore. It's going to get to a point that it will then be detrimental to your progress, because you'll just keep adding on more and more exercise, and then you'll just end up burning out. You'll be exhausted. It'll be unrealistic for you to keep up a really high activity level every single day. You're not going to be recovering properly and all these kind of things, and it's just going to be unmaintainable for you to keep that standard, that really high level of exercise, which is why you want to focus more on your diet. Your diet will be the big game changer when it comes to weight loss, but if you partner that with, you know, being more active every day, then that's just going to really reinforce that calorie deficit and make sure you lose weight, but also make sure that you're living well and that you're looking after your body too. So, there we go. So, like I said, don't worry if you've never heard what NEAT is before, because I'm going to tell you now. NEAT means non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And it is a bit of a mouthful, but basically it just means the energy that we use for everything we do that isn't sleeping, eating, or planned, structured exercise, such as sports. So your body has, you know, it requires energy to do all these different things, whether that's planned exercise and all the rest of it. But it needs energy just to survive. Your body needs enough energy just to breathe, to sleep, to eat, to do exercise. So your NEAT is basically everything else. Yeah, so we want to make sure that we're bringing up your NEAT levels. We want to make sure that you're being more active on a day-to-day basis. And NEAT covers things like, you know, fidgeting, you're walking about, all these kind of things, moving about during the day. And if you're not doing very much of that, then your NEAT's going to be pretty low. And if your NEAT's pretty low, then it means it's going to be more difficult for you to be in a calorie deficit, if you're just relying on exercise alone. Okay, so we want you to be more active on a daily basis, because this will improve your NEAT levels, and this will therefore encourage weight loss, which is basically what I just said in a roundabout way. But that is why getting your steps in is a really simple but effective way to increase your NEAT and therefore help you lose weight. So because you're being more active, it might be going for a walk, it might be taking the stairs at work rather than taking the lift all the time. I'll go through later on like all these different ways that you can be more active on a daily basis. It doesn't take much extra effort, but the benefits definitely outweigh even that small amount of extra effort you need to put in to tick those boxes. So that is basically what NEAT is. It's fairly straightforward. It's something you don't need to worry about too much, but I just thought it was worthwhile explaining to you what it was and how it's affected by being more active. So in a nutshell, we just want to make sure your activity levels are coming up, and that is basically your NEAT levels, and that is going to help encourage weight loss through your calorie deficit. Okay, so how many steps? Now, I said that the 10,000 numbers kind of thrown about quite a lot. Basically, from research and stuff, these professionals have found that 8 to 10,000 steps per day seems to be a healthy amount for someone to be active. So 8 to 10,000 steps means that you're moving about a fair amount, and enough to encourage a healthy body. And it's not that you're doing so little that you're not going to be really in a healthy body. Your joints aren't going to be moving very much. That's just the kind of average number they found means that you are fairly active and active in a decent amount, a healthy amount. But it'll vary person to person. Yeah, it's going to be very specific to you, whatever your step goal is. If you're particularly sedentary, then increasing your activity levels on a daily basis will have a big impact on how much you use, because if you're already not doing very much, if you're sitting quite a lot of the day, even trying to encourage a lot, like 1,000 to 2,000 steps a day, that could make a big difference to you. Even if you're not really focusing too much on your calories just now, just being that little bit more active can make a really big difference. So if you're only hitting, like some people might even hit about 2,000 to 3,000 steps per day, particularly working from home, you've not even got a commute anymore really, you're not travelling to and from work, you're not walking about in that sense, you might not even be going out on your lunch break that you might have done before if you were in the office. So you are in your house pretty much all day and you're not really walking about much. So if you make that conscious effort to go for a walk at lunchtime or something, or just to try and be that bit more active, that can make a really big difference. And even if you are quite active, like I says, if you try and push for a little bit more activity every day, then again it can help, but we don't want it to go too far to the opposite end of the scale where you're doing a ridiculous amount of steps every day or trying to be really crazy active, but it ends up it's just detrimental, and it's too hard to try and keep that in your schedule and maintain that really high level. So we want to find that nice balance. So like I said, it will be kind of specific to you, how many steps you can do. Like it will depend on your lifestyle, your mobility, your schedule, your job, your goals. So if your goals are to lose a certain amount of weight, then in a certain amount of time, then you might need to push a little bit more. Maybe you've got a holiday coming up and you want that extra little push, and that's fair enough. But if it's more of a lifestyle thing, sustainable change, then you might not have a big dramatic increase in your activity levels, okay? It might just be something a bit more subtle, but something that you'll be able to do every single day for the rest of your life, yeah? And particularly during menopause, it would be nice for you to be able to get these habits going, make sure that you're moving plenty. We don't want you kind of seizing up as you're getting older, and especially with hormone changes and stuff, and if you maybe haven't been one for exercising for a long time, if you've been quite sedentary for a long time, then this is going to be a great opportunity for you to adopt some really positive habits that can see you through the rest of your life pretty much, because it's never too late to take up these new things, and this will be a really good way to look after yourself as you age. Like I said, your lifestyle, so if you've got a really busy lifestyle, if you've got a family, if you're kind of maybe having older relatives that you're looking after, it's not going to be realistic for you to have so much time dedicated to going for big, long, extravagant walks. So you might be more suited to doing smaller step goals, or spread out throughout the day, or maybe doing different activities that are going to keep your NEAT levels up. Your mobility, again, I mentioned that before, not everyone can go for big, long walks. You might be really limited. You might be, in a wheelchair. You might have any injuries. You might be limited by how mobile you are. You might not be able to go very far. You might, be in discomfort or pain from walking too far. So again, that's going to dictate how much your step target might be, or whatever your activity will be that you take up to increase your NEAT levels. Again, your schedule, your job, if you're working from home, you might not have the ability to leave your desk and go for a big long walk that you might have been able to do before in the office if you were working on site. Things like that will influence what you will be able to do, and like your schedule. Like I said, if your schedule is dictated by a lot of external factors and you've not really got a lot of time to dedicate to doing certain things and being more active, then that might be a little bit more tricky for you. But at the end of the day, we want you just to focus on being more active in a realistic way. Like I said, it's going to be simple, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy to do. So you will need to put in a little bit more effort, but we don't want it to be to the point that it's too much effort and it's not something you're going to be able to do all the time. It's not going to be able to become a habit. We want it to become more of a habit, something that you do every day without having to think about too much, and just make it part of your life now. But yeah, the more activity you have, it'll increase your NEAT, and then that'll increase your deficit, and then that'll encourage weight loss. So that is just, in the simplest term there, I've kind of put that to just give you a more clear idea of what we're aiming for here with your step goals. But yeah, I've mentioned quite a few times now that people who have desk jobs might find they've gained weight, particularly in lockdowns, from not being able to walk about as much, and lots of changes that have went on to the structure in their kind of jobs. So they might be based at home all the time. You might not be walking about very much. Like I said, you don't have that commute anymore to get to your work. Even if you were taking the car, you're still up and about in the morning, walking to your car, maybe having to walk from a car park to actually get to your office, things like that. These little things make a big difference. And I think people have really noticed the impact of not having that commute anymore, just from gaining weight, from being a lot less active, maybe even going out on your lunch break and stuff. You might not even be benefiting from that bit of activity. So yeah, that's really impacts a lot of people. And I know that a lot of women that I've seen who have trained, who have retired, or maybe cut down the amount of hours that they do, maybe dropped to part-time, they've gained weight because, again, they're not as active, they're not walking about as much, they're not going about to their job and all these kind of things, and they just tend to adopt a more sedentary lifestyle. And that's something that we want to avoid, because it's such a bad habit to get into, is just getting up, sitting about a little bit more, and not saying that you're not out and about doing things, but just you're not as active, not quite as on the go, here to here to here, going from place to place. You might be more inclined to be sitting about a lot more, maybe a bit more in the house compared to what you were previously. So it's just making sure you don't kind of slip into bad habits and you take up new ones, and make sure you're up and going for a walk or something, and doing things like that to keep you as active as possible. So yeah, planning to go for a walk is the simplest way to set time aside and increase your steps. It's not difficult. You don't need any equipment for it. You don't need anybody to talk you through it. You don't really need anyone to be there with you. It's free. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need have any expense from it, and it's accessible. You can literally just walk anywhere, even if you're fortunate enough to live somewhere that's got lots of nice paths and routes and countryside and stuff around you. Like, that sounds lovely. That must be amazing. But if you're in a city or a built up area, you'll still be able to walk about. There's nothing stopping you, really. Also, when it's winter and stuff and it's colder and it's more difficult and it's darker nights, you might be less inclined to go for walks. But in general, it's just the easiest way. You just say, right, I've got, even, it doesn't have to be a big long walk. If you've got 20 minutes, 10 minutes even, just to get out, get a bit of fresh air, go for a quick stomp, is better than nothing. And if you're doing that every other day or every single day, like, that's absolutely amazing, and it can make such a big difference. It's these small steps that are the game changers a lot of the time for people when they're trying to lose weight, especially for women who are going through menopause. It's a way that they can be moving, be active. They can even catch up with friends, and they can go with their friends and have a walk and a catch up and things like that, without having to muster up too much energy to go and do it. It's not like you're facing a big difficult workout. Just going for a walk, it can be a leisurely stroll. You don't even need to be power walking, although if you do, like, happy days, that's great. But if you're not feeling up to it, at least you still get that option, and more often than not, you'll feel better for it, for a bit of fresh air and for moving your body and getting those steps up. But yeah, like I says, if you're really busy, you can't leave your desk too long. I know it's easy for me to say as a PT and just say, look, just set aside that half an hour, get away from your desk, clear your head, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? People have mental jobs. Some of you have such crazy jobs, so much responsibility, so much going on, deadlines, all these kind of things. You've got bosses to answer to, people relying on you, and sometimes you physically cannot get away from your desk, and I totally understand that. I think it is really important that you make an effort to set time aside for yourself to get away from your work for even half an hour in the day, to split that day up. But I do understand that it's easy for me to say that, and not everyone can do it. But if you can, then that would be amazing. It's such a good thing for you to be able to do. But yeah, you might be limited by how long you can walk for. You might only have like a 15-minute break or something that you can go for a quick stomp. If that, might be limited by, things like mobility issues. If you've got children, if you're looking after people, if you're caring for people, all these kind of things might impact, the amount of time that you've got at your disposal to go for a walk. But if you are able to, if you just set time aside in your schedule, then that would be amazing, just to make sure you've got that time blocked out for you. That's your time to go for a walk or something, and that's it. But if you cannot do that, then don't worry, because there are other ways to be more active. So you can take the stairs at every opportunity. So that it means if you've got a lift, maybe in the building you live in and your work, if you're going shopping, anything like that, if there's a lift or there's stairs, take the stairs, please, if you can. It's just, like again, I said, it's all these little things, but these little actions add up and make big changes. So if you think that in my flat, I'm on the 3rd floor, and we've not got a lift, so I need to climb those stairs every single day. But I definitely felt the benefit when I moved into that flat from taking the stairs every day. At first I was a bit out of puff, but you do get used to it, and you feel your fitness building up and things like that, especially if you've got all your message bags to carry up the stair. It does make a difference compared to where I lived before. I was the 11th floor up in a flat, and sometimes I would take the stairs. A lot of the time I didn't, because 11 flights of stairs is quite hardcore. If you're doing it 2 or 3 times a day as well, it can be quite a lot. But sometimes I did it quite a lot of times. But you could even take the lift halfway up and then walk the other half the way. If you feel like you're really unfit, then you've always got that option. You could go up one flight and then walk up another, and build up your fitness if you feel like it's too much for you to take on to start with. Don't feel like you need to be flying up and down the stairs all the time when really you're not up to it. You can build up over time. So there's that option there, but always try and take the stairs if you can. Frequent stand-up breaks. I don't mean you need to crack up jokes and take up stand-up comedy. What I mean is just frequently standing up and getting up from your chair. If you're in the office, going for a walk about, go and fill up your water bottle, go to the toilet, even if you don't need it. It's just, who's going to know, just walk to the toilet and back. Something as simple as that, just to get you up and get you moving and give yourself a break from being on your bum and sitting down. If you're in the house, like take a break, go and walk up and down the stairs. If you've got stairs in your house, that's always an option. Just something to get you away from that same seated position. Even in the evenings, if you're chilling, sitting watching TV, try and get up frequently. Move about, go and make a cup of tea, set a kettle on, go and get a glass of water, things like that you can do quite regularly just to split up and get the blood flowing in the legs and get the joints moving and all that kind of thing. Vigorous cleaning. That is a class one because you can use up so much energy when you're cleaning, and it means that your house is going to be cleaning as well, so happy days. Like, you might already be quite a vigorous cleaner. I know that when I hoover, I'm dying. There's something about hoovering that kills me. Like, I'm always absolutely breathing out my backside whenever I hoover, which is why I try and pass it on to Alex, to be honest. I try and pass it on to my boyfriend for him to do. But yeah, if you find that hoovering is a big one, just really getting stuck into your cleaning is a great way to use up energy. So try and maybe even clean more regularly. And not that I'm saying that you need to clean your house, I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is just make sure that when you do clean, give it that extra bit of elbow grease just to really use up some extra energy. Morning, evening routines are amazing. They're so underrated because I think people have an idea that you need to have a really elaborate, morning or evening routine full of millions of steps and having chia seed shakes and lemon water, and then you need to go for a big long walk and then meditate for 3 hours and da, da, da. But you really don't. It just needs to be a few simple things that you can do in the morning and evening to set you up for the day or help you wind down, but you can make them more active. So you can be doing some stretching, some dynamic stretching in the morning, maybe just to get you kind of loosened up and ready for the day. You can maybe do like a little yoga routine or something, or a stretch routine. You could do a workout to get you set up for the day, or you might be more of a night owl and prefer working out in the evening. Maybe go for a walk first thing in the morning to get you set up, or maybe go for a walk last thing at night before you go to your bed to help you wind down. These are cool things that you can take on to just help you get a little bit more active first thing in the morning to start your day, or maybe you've got a few more steps that you need to hit in the evening. It'll help you kind of get those numbers up a little bit. But yeah, having a morning or evening routine can be really class to just help give you a little extra boost. Walking the dog or walking your kids to school. I don't mean to put kids and dogs in the same sentence as if I'm comparing them, but like little things like that. If you're maybe taking your dog for a walk, maybe just try and walk that little bit further or a little bit brisker, or get the heart rate up a little bit more, or maybe walk the dog a little more frequently. Something during the day, your dog might absolutely hate you for it, or it might love you for it, depending on how your dog is. But yeah, something like that, just extend your route a little bit. If you've got a dog, and if you've not got one, maybe get one. Like that could be another way to just keep you fit. Habit stacking. This is a great one. This is one I've found that works so well with clients in the past. And it's not to like make you feel like, oh God, I need to do this. It's just a quick and easy way for you to get something done whilst you're doing something else, especially if you're someone that's short on time, you're always up against it, you don't have a lot of time to be doing all these extra things. If you're someone that can't even get away from your desk for 15 minutes to go for a walk, things as simple as doing squats whilst you're waiting on the kettle boiling. Now, this was I set a challenge for a few clients to do things like that, and they've been really effective, and they actually quite enjoyed it because they felt like they were, almost hacking the system with getting extra things done whilst they're doing something else. So squatting while the kettle's boiling, like how long does it take the kettle to boil? Like a minute or so, and you're just doing as many squats as you can until the kettle boils, and then at least you've been moving a little bit, and your reward is a lovely cup of tea or coffee. Happy days. What a win-win situation that is. But yeah, doing something simple like that, it could be whilst you're washing the dishes. You could just be kind of transferring your weight side to side to make sure you're keeping yourself moving. or maybe do some squats once you've done the dishes, something as simple as that. One of my clients, she quite enjoyed doing some push-ups against the sink. I've had someone do that before. That's a good one. Also, whilst you're standing, wash your dishes as well. Like, that is pretty good. You're on your feet and you're moving about. But anything like that that you can think of, that you're ticking boxes whilst you're doing something else. Habit stacking is brilliant, and it's a really, really effective and time-efficient way to be a bit more active. Ditch the car. Obviously, you've got to be realistic. If you're going on a mega long journey, you're not going to walk it. But if you've got little trips to the shops and things that you could actually do, you could actually walk to and back in a decent amount of time. Like, that's going to be a real big saviour. Good for the environment as well, all that jazz. But in this circumstance, it's going to be great for you because it means that you are moving more rather than relying on the car. But yeah, if we've got any situations like that you can go for alternative, then ideal. Okay, but there's loads of wee hacks like that, things that we can do. So if you struggle with anything like that, just let me know and I can help you come up with some ideas. So how will you be more active? So I want you to go through these questions here and just answer in the box beside and just fill it out as accurately and honestly as you can. So how do you describe your current activity levels? Are you quite sedentary, seated most of the day? How long would you say you're seated for the majority of the day? You know, are you quite active? Do you do sports during the week? Are you up and down on your feet quite a lot? Are you, going here, there and everywhere? Are you going to a lot of different places? Or are you maybe going to the shops? Are you going here, running a lot of errands? Are you quite active? Are you very active? Tell me in the wee box there, just to give you an idea. Be honest of how active you think you are every day. What do you do daily to be more active? So is there something you already do that you have in place? It might be one of the things we've mentioned before, like taking the stairs instead of the lift. Anything like that, walking your dog. What do you do just now that makes you quite active? And then is there anything you could do to be more active that you're not already doing? So if you think you've got a wee extra push that you could do to increase your NEAT levels and things like that, then fire that in a little box. Like I've given you some examples already, but if you need help with that, then I can help you. That's no bother. What do you use to track your activity levels? So do you use, like it says, do you use a pedometer? Do you use a smartwatch? Do you use your smartphone? Whatever it is, do you maybe set yourself a distance for how far you're going to walk that day, and that's what you use to track your activity levels? Or do you go for a certain length of time? Anything like that. And how do you encourage yourself on tough days? That's a big one, because like I said, it can be difficult when the weather's rubbish, when it's cold, when it's dark outside, if we're tired, if we've had a rubbish day, to get out